another episode of Good Luck VISTA. Tonight, I really want to talk about the uncomfortableness with starting out. What I mean by that is, for us, the traditional track is you finish undergrad, you apply to a VISTA program, poof, you're in a VISTA program. Then after you've done VISTA, you want to go to grad school, law school, all that good stuff. You do that then. That's the tradition. But of course, we all know that we do have VISTAs from all ages, from 18 to 60, In each of those stages of life, at the beginning, when you're first starting your term, it could definitely feel like one of those situations where it's like a little bit of imposter syndrome, like where it's like, am I supposed to be here? Like, I know I have the skills. I know I do. But do I really belong, like, in this position, like doing this work? And with that is a lot of uncomfortableness, at the beginning. And sometimes throughout this service term, depending on, what you're working with. Because people are looking at you to have the answers. And they're looking at you to, like, you know how to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all that. And you're like, whoa, I've had only, like, 2 weeks of training. 2 weeks tops. They taught me how to type stuff. That's it. I don't know what I'm doing. But of course, everybody says a rose grows in the dark. Diamonds are made with pressure. I like to believe that I do, but I also am a very transparent person when I say that uncomfortableness, it's not fun. It's really not fun. But you still get to learn so much from it. So of course, as a VISTA, we are working, in different communities. And so there may be a lot of uncomfortableness with that, because if you've never experienced some of the hardships that they're going through, they may kind of look at you like, how can you help me? Like, how can you do that? Actually, yeah, no, I'm good. And so then there's a wall. But making sure you present yourself in a way that is open to everybody's, story, open to helping others, open to learning the community that you're in, that can combat some of that uncomfortableness as far as like where you're serving. Now with your program, of course, nobody expects you to know everything. And even after you go through orientation, it may be some of those moments where you're like, I still don't know this. It's still kind of one of those things where it's like, you're uncomfortable, try to learn from it, try to pick from it. And then if it's like, I still have that question, you can definitely go ask somebody. Don't try to just like wing it. Please don't. Because usually when you try to wing it, there's like an error somewhere and everybody gets confused. And you're like, wait a minute, nobody told me that. Oh, yeah, because I never asked. I've been spending the past few months being confused about my program, and I never bothered to ask. I've been uncomfortable in these meetings because I've been so focused on like not wanting to ask that question when your question is valid. So ask the question. Now, when it comes to kind of being, seen as like the professional, like you're in a new environment, like you're a professional here, like yeah, we all go through a little bit of that imposter syndrome where it's like, am I the professional though? Am I? Like, it doesn't matter if you're 18, 20, 50, 70. If you're just now starting in a work environment and people are looking at you like you got to have it together, you're going to get uncomfortable. You're going to get nervous. You're going to get anxious about it. But again, take those moments, see what you can, learn from it. And if you still have questions about something, don't hesitate to ask, okay? A lot of times it is kind of so-called putting on a face, making it seem like, yeah, I got it together. But other times you have, especially when you're working in a community where it's about, services, helping food security, poverty, housing, all that stuff, you're focused on helping somebody else. So that means you got to put aside your ego and say, hey, I really don't know this. or I'm uncomfortable with working with this. Can you help me figure out how to go through it? Not get over it, go through it. You know, when you go through the uncomfortableness, you take everything from it. You learn from it. You grow. Versus trying to get over it or trying to avoid it, you're not gonna get the best of you out of the situation. You know, working in our communities, they don't get the option of just kind of like avoiding their hardships, avoiding not having a meal every night, avoiding not being able to afford their rent. They have to go through that. And so if you're going through it the same way that they have to go through their hardships, you're getting through that uncomfortableness with so much more than you would have gotten by just avoiding it or complaining about it. Trust me, you're gonna complain. It's gonna be a bad situation where you're like, I do not like being in this situation because I am uncomfortable, and you're gonna feel like, why am I forcing myself? But it's sometimes forcing yourself to be uncomfortable is what you need to grow. Is what you need. And you can complain. I complain sometimes. I do. But after I got done complaining and actually looked at what I needed to take from the situation, so much better. So much better. This past year, I complained so much about public speaking and talking to like community members that I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Why do I keep forcing myself to go to these places? And then I finally took a step back and I was like, I needed to go. I needed to be put in that situation to know that I do have the capability of doing it. And if I kept avoiding it or just trying to get over it, I wouldn't have been able to take that from that. And I know sometimes as a Vista, it's one of those things where it's like, do I have the time to put forth an effort to try to go through these situations, go through the uncomfortableness? Or do I just want to get it out the way or just avoid it so I can focus on my work? When you're having to make those tough decisions, know that there isn't a perfect formula for it. It's again one of those situations where whatever you need to take from it to grow, know that you're not the first person that's probably been uncomfortable with it. You probably won't be the last, but there is something within it that you needed to take from it versus what the next person might need to take. And it's going to look a little different. For us as a cohort, I think we've all kind of had those moments where it's like, I'm really not comfortable doing this, but I know that the next person is. So maybe you can help me get through this. Like, you can walk me through this situation. And having that kind of support system around you is so important. And that's why it does make a difference in your professional development as a Vista, because it's like, there's somebody around you that also is feeling the same way. Trust me, there's somebody around you that's feeling the same way. And they may not be wearing it on their sleeve, or they might be. You can still kind of lean on them and ask them like, hey, how are you getting through this? Because I don't know how I'm getting through it. And they can tell you, oh yeah, you know, I've been working with this, or I read this book, or I've just been trying to like hone in on like my skill set of being able to do this one thing versus the other. And then I'm coming back around to what's making me uncomfortable, you know? It's different ways of handling it. It's, again, one of those situations where if you are uncomfortable, whether it's public speaking, reaching out to community partners, networking, technology, any of that you feel like, this is not my thing, go through it, take what you need from it, and know that you always have the opportunity to come back and do it all over again until you're like, I got this. Like, I'm good. I don't feel nervous about it no more. It is what it is. I done went through this. I'm good now. You feel me? And that may not happen within your entire service year. It may be one of those things where it's like, I've learned as a Vista that I am uncomfortable with this situation and I'm working on it, but this is going to be like a longer type of process for me. This is not something that I'm going to figure out by the end of my term. And that's okay. Set those goals for yourself, you know. Identify it, say, this is a timeline that works for me. This is how I'm actively going to do it while I'm a Vista. I'm hoping to have it done by this year or this set of time. It might be within my VISTA term, it might not, but guess what? I will get to a point to where my uncomfortableness is no longer existent about this thing. And at the end of it, you may be like, you know what, why was I uncomfortable from the beginning? Why? It wasn't that bad. Or it might be a situation where it's like, yeah, I'm still uncomfortable. I haven't gotten there. Don't know when I'm gonna get there, but I haven't gotten there yet. And guess what? Identifying it either way helps you out in the long run. So that way, when you are, connecting with Vistas, community partners, alumni, getting ready for grad school, further jobs, you are already aware of where you are uncomfortable at and what situations you do feel that way in. So that way you can take it with you for the future versus you just kind of putting yourself in a situation. You're like, wow, I never even knew that this did make me uncomfortable, but now I do know. Okay, so now moving forward, let's do this. Versus at the beginning, you're already aware, you already know how to handle it. You're like, yeah, this is how I kind of deal with it. I know it's not the best way. I know it's not, but this is what ways works for me. And so when I'm working with people in the future, I can go ahead and tell them that. My last piece of advice though, if you are feeling uncomfortable, especially as like a Vista, do know that for whatever reason, you needed this time in your journey. You needed this chapter in your journey, and whatever you need to take from it, you will take from it. And you are not meant to be the person that has it all the way together all the time. Nobody is meant to do that in any type of job. For us, making sure that you are human and you let your community know, like, hey, this is not my strong suit. This is not my strong suit. This is not what I'm comfortable with, but I'm going to try. It shows them that you are putting in the effort and you have bought in to the service that we are meant to do. And with that, good luck, Vista.